GettingPositiveKarmaNow.com presents Bhagavad Gita for All, a lecture series by Nala Narula, recorded in front of a live audience.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, we completed text 55, which was Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha managatan atmani eva atmana tushta sthita pragya tada uchyate. Sri Bhagwan Uvacha, the Lord speaks and says to Arjun that when all desire for sense gratification of all types, which arise from mental speculation and mental concoction, are given up, not exactly given up, that when these mental concoctions are satisfied, when the individual, the soul self, is satisfied with the self alone, then the mental concoctions and all the varieties of sense desire are given up, and then that person is said to be in a state of sthita pragya, transcendental consciousness, in God consciousness at that time. So one who is fully engaged in the devotional service of the divine by connecting to the self, by the connecting to the energies of the divine, like Reiki and the KQ force, using everything, using those energies for everything, then when the mind is finding satisfaction in that self, in that flow, that person is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Now, clearly, for most people's experience, that is not happening all the time. So there are times when you would be in that state, and there would be times when you would not be in that state. So if you are in the natural position of channeling and flowing with that consciousness, bathing your consciousness in the flow of that energy, then you become more and more developed in that. So clearly it requires practice, it requires attention, going beyond the initial stages of just trying to practice using the energies for everything that one does and layering everything that one does with those energies. Then we have text 56. Dukheshu anudvigya manaha sukheshu vigatah spriha vitaraga bhaya krodhastihadi muni uchyate. Dukheshu anudvigna mana, threefold miseries. One who is not disturbed in spite of the threefold miseries. Sukheshu vigata spriha, without being too interested in happiness or enjoyment. Vita rag bhay krodh sthitadhi muni uchyate. So when who is free from attachment, rag is attachment from either the happiness aspect or the fear and anger. So you have to be, there are three things mentioned here: free from attachment or elation and free from fear and anger. So there is attachment to happiness, to fear and anger. So fear and anger can be a negative kind of attachment or one who is disturbed by it. So then the mind is steady, sthiti. So sthitadi is a steady mind because you are not disturbed by either happiness, you are not disturbed by attachments which lead to fear and anger. So when we are attached to something, we are wanting to maintain it, or we are wanting to acquire some things, then we are having the problem of not being balanced in mind, because then we are focused in that direction. We are not neutral and steady. So this is an important understanding. Such a person is called a muni, a sage, a wise person. But muni is also a person who is having a lot of mental speculation. And munis traditionally are very agitated people in one sense, because they agitate the mind, they think about a lot of things, they are speculating. So the angle of looking at things, Bhaktivedanta Swami says here in his commentary that the one muni must differ from the other muni by a different angle. He has to have a different take on the subject, otherwise he's not considered to be strictly in that sense a muni. So muni is a person who is, you can say, in some sense, having a different angle of vision, giving a opposite view, is a debater, you can say. So he debates issues. He takes different viewpoints, he takes different stands, and so that's his job, is to agitate, to question, to even speculate at some point. But when all that is done, the Sthitadhi Muni has finished with all his creative aspects of speculation. He is no more in that speculative mode, and he has come to the conclusion that Krishna, or the divine Vasudeva, is everything. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanvan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatmana sudurlabha. So when he has come to that conclusion that after many, many births, after many, many speculations, after many experiences, he has come to the conclusion that Vasudeva, Krishna, son of Vasu, is the Supreme Lord, and he surrenders into him. So he is not influenced by attachment, he is not influenced by aversion, he is not influenced by happiness or distress, and he is willing to do whatever he needs to do for the sake of Krishna consciousness in the service of the Lord. And so he is very active, he is very daring, he is very, you can say, warrior-like in a way. So even if his attempts are not successful, he is not getting agitated and angry or upset. Okay, it didn't work, it didn't work. He is going to keep continuing to do his work, whether there is an audience for it, whether there is a market for it, whether there is a demand for it or not. He has to continue his mission. So that is the point. And such a person is steady in his determination, and he is called a muni, sthitadhi muni, sthitadhi, one who is steady, a steady sage. He is finished with all this speculative business. He is no more going back and revisiting all these agitating questions, no more agitations. So that is the sthit muni. Then we have text 57. Ya sarvatra anebhisneha tat tat prapya shubham ashubham na abhinandati na dveshti tasya pragya pratisthita ya sarvatra anabhisneha tat tat prapya shubha shubham shubha ashubham na abhinandati na dveshti tasya pragya pratisthita. One who is without affection, without lamentation, without attachment, whenever he may obtain some evil result or he may obtain some good result, he does not pray abhinandati, na abhinandati, does not pray for these things. Na dveshti tasya pragya pratishtha. So he does not have lamentation, he does not have envy, and such a person is perfectly fixed in knowledge, in the perfect understanding. So this is a very interesting point that is being made here by Lord Krishna in text 57, that a person who's not with any attachment, in other words, he has no attachment either of affection or of hatred, both, and he is not getting very excited, does not rejoice when there is something good, nor does he lament when there is something evil, then such a person is fixed in perfect knowledge. My spiritual master used to say that when you get something good in life happening to you, you should not celebrate too much. And when there is something bad, also you should not. So the reason is that when you are getting something good in your life, you are using up the bank balance of your positive karma, so there's nothing to celebrate. And when you are experiencing the bad, there's no need for excessive lamentation of any kind because you're using up the negative karma. So you remain at balance. It doesn't matter. Things are going to happen. Things are things. Things will happen. They're supposed to happen. So do not get agitated. This is very important because healers get very agitated. I want this. I have to have this. This is not happening. How is it happening to me? Why is it happening to me? Oi, vey, why me? All that sort of thing is going on. And that is not a steady state of mind. That is not being perfectly fixed in knowledge. Nobody says that you shouldn't send healing to those things. Yes. But in a detached way. Because always remember, Master Hawayo Takata used to say, only the God's healing energy is in my hand, not the results. So the results are never in your hand. Previous shlokas we've discussed that the results are nothing to do with what you do. What you experience in life is not caused by you entirely. Remember that. That the results that are coming, what you are experiencing, you have a very little part to play. But whatever that part is, you should play it properly. So therefore, there is no need to get disturbed. There is no need to hug things to your bosom, and there is no need to, with hatred and anger, throw things away from you. You do it, whatever you have to do, in the fulfillment of your God-conscious duty, your healing consciousness duty. You do that neutrally. So, neutral doesn't mean indifferent. Neutral means that you are not disturbed. You are taking that action as you need to take that action, but without the emotional disturbance, the mental disturbance, the mental speculation that is going on. So is it possible to do that? It is possible to do that. So how do you achieve it? Or do you find yourselves achieving it at some points? At some points, sometimes.
Then you have to remind yourself, get back to that point, that what is it you really, what is the main purpose of your life, and what are you doing for what, and then when you remember that, then you come back to balance.
Yes. So, in practical terms, how does this work out for you? Because a number of healers come and tell me, this thing is going very bad in my life, and I'm very disturbed, and why it's not happening like this, why it's not happening like that, why is the healing not working?
At that point,
objective and more based on logic as well as no emotions involved, then you start thinking in a more balanced way.
so one is to
How do you remain no emotions involved?
If you feel that you're responsible for it, you created that karma. So
No, you see, that is one aspect. What you're saying is right in one aspect, but that's not the whole story. You have created the karma, but you're agitating about the result. So the point here is being reiterated that you don't agitate. And why is it that you don't agitate? Because you truly understand that your actions are not giving you a 1:1 result in the world. There are other factors, and the result is not entirely in your hand. You are doing a little bit of something, and you channel the healing energy, for example. You are doing that to free yourself and others from binding consequence karma, and in that process, whatever gets harmonized, it gets harmonized in a particular way, not necessarily the way you want it. So you align with what is happening, actually.
but sometimes one may not like what one is
Yeah,
happening.
well, you do not like, that's fine.
So the only two things that
Tough luck, don't like it, so you have to take the medicine.
Yes.
Then,
Then the only two things I can do is to do my healing and
yes,
to bring my mind back to that point, that where am I going?
yeah.
And beyond that I can't turn.
Yeah, but sometimes it takes a long time, because if you take the example of what was happening in your family and you were very agitated about wanting a particular result, and I tried to explain this point to you, and it took some time, I think, and ultimately from what I recall is that your satisfaction happened because that person agreed to go partly, at least, in the direction you had wanted them to go. So tomorrow when that person is not going in the direction you want, again you will be agitated. So you have to be very careful about this. How steady are you? And we tried to tell you at that time, it's not your life. It's somebody else's life. Let them do what they have to do. It's not your problem anymore. But you, not just you, but anyone, will find it difficult to do that. Because we want to have some ownership or some control of that issue, of that situation. And we don't really have any ownership. So we may delude ourselves sometimes thinking that, we are in that balanced state. Yeah, we have no ownership. So the only thing you can do is to steadfastly work towards freeing yourself from binding consequence karma by doing the healing, by going on the path that has been shown to you and that you have seen works. So ultimately, if you're not going to get the results that you asked for through the healing or through prayers, in the previous slok, Krishna is saying you have to give up prayers. Huh? Very radical, revolutionary concept. Before that he says, give up all the contradictory information that's given in the Vedas. Leave it. Leave the Vedas alone. Whatever can be served by a small body of water can be served by a larger body. The Vedas is the small body, the larger body is one who is actually in Krishna consciousness, self-realized. That's the largest body. So once you get to that point, it's huge. The Vedas are contradictory, conflicting, and not the largest body of water. So no praying, I want this, give me this, they, not like this. It's like, take healing, take the energy. Yes.
So Mickey and Guy, they have a question.
Yes.
Yes, Guy?
Master, is it correct understanding that if I am aware of myself and my action in the moment, therefore I can also be free of the agitation?
You may be free of your agitation for that moment, but when you're out of that moment, then what happens?
So I have to continue my, let's say, awareness.
Well, if you are not agitated at that moment, then what happened to make you agitated after that moment passed? Then you use that moment to draw some conclusion or some analysis, and then you took some mental action. So that is actually creating the problem.
So the solution for the moment-to-moment interaction with the situation, what would that be the best course of action in terms of because there's always decisions that you have to take during your interaction.
You have to take the decision for the best possible consequence given the limited area that you're working in at that moment, at that time, in that position, whatever is your position at that time. But and you also have to do your work honestly, you have to do whatever is needed to get that result, but you're not attached to it. You're not praying, oh God, make this happen, otherwise I will die. This has to happen. I mean, that agitation must not be there. There must be steadiness. Yes, you want that result, you are working for that result. Result is not in your hand eventually. So you're not wedded to the result in that sense. So it's a balancing act in a way. That you are moving steadily without hugging this to your chest or pushing it away at arm's length. You are doing what you need to do to get to that point where you should be going according to the responsibility that has been given to you, according to the duty you're supposed to discharge, but you are not going to agitate. That's the point. The mental agitation has to stop because now we are talking about the mind. And the senses will disturb the mind and the mind disturbs the senses. It's a two-way street. So the mind is affecting the senses a lot and also being affected by the senses. So we will come to understand that later in the following verses. So I'll just check. I want to see what Bhaktivedanta Swami says about this. He says there is always some upheaval in the material world which may be good or evil. And one who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good and evil, is said to be understood to be fixed in Krishna consciousness. So when you are in the material world, basically there's always going to be dualities. But if you're fixed in Krishna consciousness, in the healing consciousness, you're not affected because everything is an opportunity to send healing. Right? And that's all you're concerned with. You're only concerned with the healing energy flow. So if you make it all about the healing energy flow, then technically you're in samadhi. You're at balance, samadhi, the original state of consciousness, which is God consciousness. So that's why we advise many times that all you do is to bathe your consciousness in the flow of the healing energy. Connect your consciousness to the flow of the energy. So then you are at samadhi. So that's a very simple method. You can be channeling healing for anything, not a problem. But when you are bathed in that waterfall of energy, then there is no agitation happening automatically. So even if you are initially attached to a result or you are stimulated to send healing for a particular thing with the attachment aspect, it will disappear once your consciousness is in the flow of that energy. So that is the method that you must focus more on to become actually sthitadi, steady, muni, sage, wise person, who has finished with all speculation, who has finished with all debates. There is no more debating issues left for you. So text 56 and 57, chapter 2, we will conclude here. And if there are any further questions, I will take them. Mickey had a question. Okay.
Yes, Mickey.
Master, since last week that we discussed the issue or the topic that we should understand that the results are not in our hands.
Yes.
I had very interesting change in vision or I don't know consciousness.
Okay.
That I was connecting with this in my life, and then it became bigger. And it's just like, if to put it in words, it's like a role playing, that everything is already, the script is there and everything.
Yes.
And the individuals are like doing their role playing.
Yes, they are. That is very good understanding. That is right. That is correct. Good.
And the vision,
Yes, go ahead.
There's something changed. I don't know. I try to explain in words because it's kind of I cannot it's difficult a little bit to explain. But it was a combination from what the output was that you explained it, and then I accepted it in some way.
Yes.
And then it was outside also. It was like clear, like. In Hebrew, they said that God is working in mysterious ways, and somehow this veil was like taken away, and you see this all around. I could see it in some kind of some aspect of it.
Yes, yes. It is like at some points it's almost like you're watching yourself from the outside doing all these things and not quite connected to it. So that is the soul consciousness. So you are away from what you are doing in one sense, in that sense. And you are playing a part. So it is dispassionate. You know it's not real at one sense. You are just going through doing things because you have to do it. And at another sense it is real because you are acting in the material world here. So it's a kind of a dual awareness. Okay. Yes, you had a question.
So what are the other factors that affect our destiny apart from karma?
No, karma is there, but there is deciding that there are a lot of changes that take place in your karmic consequences because of various factors, including divine intervention. So you are faced with certain things. The shlok that is being referred to is that one should not think that one is responsible entirely for what is happening to you. And that can be taken improperly also, but the way which is that, it's not my fault, or it's not my responsibility, but that's not the point that was being made. The point being made was that when you get a certain result, it is not just your action that is going into the formula or into the mix. And a lot of it has to do with external factors, which is balancing factors and the intervention of the divine. So, to put it in a simplified form, that whatever is happening for you, you are getting better than you deserve, and you're getting less than you deserve in terms of the downside, and better than you deserve in terms of the upside. So in one sense, everything is happening for the best. Yes, but what is the meaning of everything is happening for the best? Everything is happening for the best is that whatever you're doing and you're getting some result, if it is something negative or evil, or as it is said here, that something that is evil, ashubham, not auspicious, it is far less than what you deserve. And if you are getting something which is shubham, very good, it is far more than you deserve. That's what it means, that the results are not in your, the action that you do is not actually governing the results. Because there's an interfering factor. And that factor is the divine factor. So especially if you have the healing energy happening, you are definitely getting loads more than you deserve in the auspicious, the shubham aspect, and a huge lot less than you deserve in the ashubham or inauspicious negative aspect. So therefore no lamentation should be there, and no joyousness should be there, because actually it should create a position of humility. It should remind you of humility, because you are getting far more than you deserve. You are getting far more benefit than you deserve, in the downside as well as the upside. So your position is always that you're getting far more benefit than you deserve. So that is the point, that you should therefore not be getting too excited about the good times, and should not be getting too agitated on negatively upset and about the downside. And most interestingly, the Muni in text 56 is, we'll go back to text 56 and 57 taken together, where in spite of the miseries of material condition, and in spite of the happiness, in spite of natural attachments to things, and in spite of fear and anger, if one is steady, one is called a sage, and has given up all the mental speculation and concoction. And in text 57, that a person who does not rejoice when there is auspiciousness, and does not lament when there is inauspiciousness, and na abhinandati, does not pray to get that result personally. He does not envy, dveshti, na dveshti. So dveshti means I am looking at somebody else's balance sheet of life and I am saying, why don't I have that? That's envy. So when he is not in that position, and is not praying for satisfaction of those envious factors, he is a person in perfect knowledge. Such a person is perfectly situated in self-realization. You go and pray. Yes, you ask, give me this, give me that. You go to demigods and you even go to Krishna and say, give me this and give me that. You go to the healing energy and say, give me this and give me that, which is what you do. But there comes a point in the maturity of your healing when you say, let this happen, let this be done, and then you say, divine will be done, and you are asking for these things because they are in your ambit of your life. They are what you are facing, and in one sense, it's built into the practice of your healing that you are detached. Because you are saying, I can't do anything, I am requesting the healing energy to do this. I am requesting for divine intervention. So why are you getting so excited when the good result comes? You should be humble. So even if you are channeling healing for something and you don't say, such a great result, fantastic healing I did. No, it was not your healing. You're not the healer, you're only the channel. So there's a constant reminder built into this practice. So you will gradually get there. But awareness of this aspect is required. Yes, Sabrina.
So even people who are not healers are getting better than they actually deserve.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Even people who are not healers are getting better than they deserve. In every aspect. So that is the thing. This may be a concept or this may be an idea which is difficult to reconcile with what happens in the world, but the understanding is that duality is always going to be there, and there's always going to be evil and there's always going to be good, and sometimes you will find more of one and less of the other. And do not be agitated, because it is only your vision that is seeing that aspect, that it is facing you in your personal life, but not necessarily in everyone's lives at the same time. Anything else, or should we? Yes, okay.
Yes, Mickey.
I was connecting. Oh, sorry. Is it clear, the voice now?
Yes, go ahead.
I was connecting with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dancing through the streets.
Yes.
And I connected to the same thing. The body is going through the motion, but in this state, the soul is absolutely free and dancing and
yes.
Unbound.
Yes.
This,
that is right. That is absolutely correct. Yes. The nature of the soul is to be dancing. Okay? All right. So can we conclude here today?
Shamli has raised
Okay, Shamli has a question, or she has arrived. What is that?
Yes, Shamli.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
And sir, I have a question I read yesterday that we should not depend on death to liberate ourselves from any imperfection we have. We're going to be same after the death as we are right now.
No, I didn't get your question. I didn't get. You should not depend upon what?
Debt, sir.
Debt. You should not.
Debt, sir. Debt.
D-E-A-T.
Don't depend on death to liberate you from
Death.
your imperfection.
Matlab mrityu.
Yes.
You're talking about mrityu
Yes.
or karz. Which
Yes,
one?
sir.
Which one? Mrityu.
Mrityu, sir.
Okay. Dying. Okay. Yeah. No. How is that? It's not going to liberate you. It's just going to transfer you to another position. Carry over all your pending debts and credits.
So when we reincarnate, we're going to bring the same nature. So does it mean that we have to perfect ourselves in this lifetime only?
Yes, and those who have come to this point have obviously done some training in previous life for this. So they're carrying on from their previous position. So the same way in future life also they will carry on from where you leave off in this lifetime. So as much as you can achieve in this lifetime, that's good.
So is it possible to be free of all imperfection while you are in this lifetime with the healing, sir?
Yes, why not?
Because
It is possible to be free of these imperfections as mentioned by Sri Krishna here. But the thing is that it's not that it's going to be absolute. There will be times when the freedom from imperfection is not visible that much, or it gets clouded, or it gets covered up. But if the predominance is there, then you are on the right track. If you are predominantly in that place, then you are on the right track, so to say. And ultimately at the point of death is your final test. So if at the point of death you are undisturbed, no matter how you may have been throughout your life. We have the case of Ajamil the Brahmin in Bhagavatam. It is narrated that this Brahmin had a terrible fall down and he got addicted to all kinds of unsavory activities, and at the point of death he purely chanted the name of the divine and he was liberated, much to the discomfiture of the Yamduts who had actually come to arrest him. But the Vishnu Duts instantly appeared and said, sorry, he is not your case anymore. And the Yamduts went into an argument that, this man has got such a track record, last 60, 70 years of being such a criminal, and he is definitely deserving punishment. He has to go to Yamraj, who is the judge for all these activities, and he has to face judgment. And they said, sorry, no. Because at that point when he was leaving his body, he was in an undisturbed and purely surrendered state of consciousness to the divine. So it's not an example that we should be like Ajamils and hope that, at the end we will suddenly remember the divine. We will not. You have to practice for it. But the point is that if you are engaged in devotional service, your service may not be perfect today. But when the test comes, the divine help will be there to make you perfect. So it doesn't really matter. You must do whatever you can to the maximum. That's the thing. Okay?
So that perfectly answers the gratitude.
Okay, good. So we can conclude here for today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So that we concluded chapter 2, text 57. So we will continue from this next time. Okay.
You've been listening to Bhagavad Gita for All, a lecture series by Nalan K. Narula. Explore our website, gettingpositivekarmanow.com, for more on how to change your karma and destiny.